So Ubisoft is in hot water. If you go to the Steam Marketplace, which just finished their summer sale, they had Assassin's Creed Liberation on sale. The sale is off now, but during this time, a lot of people purchased the game because it was at a discounted rate. But one of the things that the people noticed as of just the other day is this notice right here on Steam. It says, please note that this title will not be accessible following September 1st, 2022. As a request of the publisher, Assassin's Creed Liberation HD is no longer available for sale on Steam. Now, imagine buying a game on the marketplace, and then a day or two later, it's no longer, you can't purchase the game at all, and then you get a notice that says it's not going to be accessible. I don't know where the communication error happened, but I don't think it was Steam's fault. I'm going to assume it was Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has had their own fair share of controversy and fuck-ups with their games, but this is a very interesting thing that has occurred, and we're going to look at Ubisoft's response to the outrage and failure to properly communicate with Steam on the messages, because if you go to the Steam store right now and you take a look at the game, you will see this. DLC for this product and online elements and features will become unavailable as of September 1st, 2022, and the base game will continue to be playable. Well, that's definitely different from the original message that was on there. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of overwhelmingly negative reviews. It's mixed. A lot of people are very angry over this, obviously. Now, before this change, articles and websites started reporting that Ubisoft appears to be removing access to Assassin's Creed Liberation on Steam, even for those people who already own it. Now, I don't need to explain why people would be outraged over this, as you buy a digital product and then days later they announce that you're no longer going to have accessibility to that game that you paid money for. And this is just one of the downsides of owning digital video games, is companies can really do some shady shit. Over the course of the last 48 hours, this blew up. Websites were covering it. People were tweeting about it. It was giving thousands of interactions all on social media. This version of Assassin's Creed Liberation, which is the HD port of the original PlayStation Vita game, is also accessible for free with Assassin's Creed 3, but this costs $40. So what this is saying, if you purchase Liberation with the Steam sale or in the past, you're not going to have accessibility to play it anymore, and you have to now pay $40, which is more, and buy Assassin's Creed 3, which will automatically include that game. Removing access to a game customers have paid for without at least offering refunds is an inherently unheard of thing on Steam. Here's Ubisoft has set that precedent with the Liberation HD. The IGN article did have to put up a correction, because eventually this backlash grew so large so quickly that Ubisoft had to make an official statement. We don't take the decision to retire service for older Ubisoft games lightly, and our teams are currently assessing all available options for players that will be impacted by these games' online services and decommissioned on September 1st, 2022. We're also working with our partners to update this information across all storefronts so players can be fully informed about the removal of the online services at a point of purchase, as well as via our support article that we shared in the news. So yeah, clearly there was a miscommunication, because that is a very different description on Steam as of right now versus just the other day. The outrage is very, very warranted in my opinion, but Ubisoft had to issue another statement. Steam's information is incorrect, and that Assassin's Creed Liberation will remain playable after September 1st. As stated in our support article, only DLCs and online features will be affected by the upcoming decommissioning. Current owners of those games will be able to access, play, or re-download them. So you can wipe that sweat off your brow. You are going to have access to the game, but this is the problem here. DLC that you purchased for your game, I don't know how many DLC there is for Assassin's Creed. I've never really been into that franchise. They're no longer going to be accessible at all if you bought them. And this is just the real shame of the digital era. We don't have a lot of physical copies of games anymore, at least with PC. And we're just being pushed into this bubble of having to give control over to things that we purchase a product, and they can just wipe it out from our feet and basically say, fuck you, we can do whatever we want. You paid, what, $50, $60 for all these DLCs all combined into one giant package? Well, now you can't have access to it at all. And we're just left spending money on something that we can't use. And I think that is scummy as fuck. Ubisoft says it has always been our intention to do everything in our power to allow those legacy titles to remain available in the best possible conditions for the players, and this is what we were working toward. Okay, but you're still revoking the DLC aspect, which I don't know about you, but back in the day, Call of Duty DLC, those map packs were like, what, 15, 20 bucks for a couple maps? You add on all the DLCs of all the COD games or all the DLCs event, you know, a typical DLC is what, 10, 15, 20 bucks, but you add on multiple DLCs, it can come up to $100. Online services, I understand. Games, you know, run out of online services after like 10 or 15 years. Typically games, online services, you know, get turned off. That's more understandable. But the DLC of the game that you pay for that should be included in your game, that's no longer accessible. Fuck you, Ubisoft. This is a really big concerning issue that should concern everybody who plays games, much less plays Assassin's Creed, much less supports Ubisoft in any way. You're revoking people's money of things that they paid for that they want to play. I don't care if it's 5, 10, 1. You paid for it, therefore you should be able to play your DLC. It's really that goddamn simple. I just love how they say that it was a Steam issue, but was it really a Steam issue, or was it, you know, Ubisoft's PR team, which has always been pretty bad, making a horrible miscommunication with Steam, and Steam missed the mark? Or maybe it was Steam. You know, I don't really know. People can throw the blame game at Steam or Ubisoft, but in my personal understanding, Ubisoft has had far more controversy than Steam has ever had, period, in the gaming industry. And my bets are on Ubisoft just being dumb. So what do you guys think about this in terms of Ubisoft revoking DLC accessibility to all people? I also found out that they're also revoking more than just that game. They're also doing like, I think it was Far Cry 3. There's a big list here. Here's the list of games that they're removing a bunch of features for, online services, DLC, and it's just, wow. Okay, this really does not make me secure in making future purchases with Ubisoft titles if this is how they're going to treat customers and just revoke access to something that you pay for that you rightfully own. But who knows? Ubisoft is a bitch. What's new?